Heyo! Hiyo! It's the New Media Review Weekly with me, your host, Joe Seppi, from the New Media Review YouTube channel. You got it. Hit it! How was that? Not bad, right? Listen to that bass. This week, we're doing our first new music review. The new music review is where I tell you about new songs that you should be listening to, that I listen to. I actually found them randomly. I chose them based on nothing other than swiping my finger across a Spotify playlist of new music and stopping it with the same finger, and what I landed on is what we got today. We chose a few songs, something to write home about. Let's get into everything. What does that mean? I'm actually going to start off with a few recommendations before we get into the main aspect of the show today. We're going to talk about one battle after another and how I think the first 20 minutes are a sound design and film editing masterpiece, or a master class, a tour de force. Let's get into those recommendations first, however. This past week, I came across an awesome podcast. It's available on the Spotify podcasts, but it's not a traditional podcast. It's basically someone is taking DVD commentaries and putting them out as podcasts. I don't know the logistics of it or how he's doing it or how she's doing it, but I love it. It's called DVD Commentary, the original podcast. The most recent one that I listened to a little bit of yesterday was Holes from, I think, 2003. It's Shia Lebouf, who we're going to talk more about in a moment, because it is relevant to me, because I love Coppola, and he did Megalopolis with Coppola. It's a really popular little meme right now. The video, it's not really a meme, it's a short, it's a viral short. Coppola and Lebouf having it out on the set of Megalopolis. I think Jon Voight is in the scene. Lebouf is basically, directing the scene. Coppola calls him out on it, saying, what director walked in here and started organizing this scene? Lebouf is like, you're obviously the director. I don't know why anybody would act like that on the set, but maybe it's method in some way. Let him be, right? Let him do it. But listen, DVD Commentary, the original podcast, it features exactly what the title says. Commentary for classic movies. And it has The Godfather 1, The Godfather Part 2, or I shouldn't say The Godfather 1 if I'm going to do the New Media Review Weekly, right? It's just The Godfather Part 2, which apparently was the first film to feature a subtitle of 2 or Part 2. Coppola states that the marketing team at production companies back in the day would say, no, we can't do that. People will think that they're seeing the second half of The Godfather, of the original Godfather. It doesn't even make sense now, but that's how things were back then. When you're doing something for the first time, the reasoning that you get for having never done it before is slightly illogical. That's why it wasn't done. Now, of course, sequels are all we get out of Hollywood. So like I said, I listened to the Coppola eps, Godfather 1, 2, or the first Godfather and Godfather 2, and then the Apocalypse Now commentary is exceptional. Francis is so beautiful to listen to, so eloquent and kind. He's a great man with amazing leadership capabilities, and he's old school. He's such an expert, and I do want to talk a little bit also. This also brings me to another documentary that I saw on YouTube. The making of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which was directed by Coppola. Now, This is the point in Coppola's career where they say that he's making movies for the money, right? And it's like, of course he's making movies for the money. He had, he can make a movie whenever he wants, especially then as well as now. But of course he's making movies for the money. He could make a movie in his backyard with some of the best actors in the world, probably. But he needs a studio. He needs sets. He needs employees, massive crews and organization in order to make an absolutely fantastic movie. And absolutely fantastic movies back then still were coming out of the Hollywood system. They were allowing people to be creative and make great movies. And Coppola being infamous for not allowing the, much like Kubrick, who we spoke about in the last episode, check that out. Much like Kubrick, he, I forget who said it. I don't know if it was Coppola, but studio executives are not known for making creative decisions, basically. They're the financiers, they're the money people, and they're the marketers, and they think they know what's good. But obviously you don't know what's good as well as a genius like Coppola does. That's why you're hiring him. So Bram Stoker's Dracula, that's Francis's take on making like the most accurate Dracula depiction that you can. Right? And I watched it the other week. Very, very awesome. I was really tired when I watched it. It was a cloudy day. It just felt great. Winona Ryder, Gary Oldman, and Keanu Reeves making an appearance relatively early in his career. I think based on that, that dramatic role, showing that side in Dracula, in Coppola's Dracula, may have led him into just about a year or two later starting on The Matrix. So it's not the best Keanu Reeves role that you'll ever see, but I think it led to a lot of great stuff. Maybe it is a great Keanu Reeves role. I don't know. I think that Coppola's audience was split in two on Dracula. It's love it or hate it, like so many of the great things in life are. Speaking of Coppola, I know I'm getting off the subject a little bit, by the way. I apologize. So what I was saying was check out this podcast. It's called DVD Commentary, the original podcast. They've got Pineapple Express, Tropic Thunder. I'm very interested in Tropic Thunder, actually. I haven't done too much research on the making of it or the history of that movie, but apparently it was Ben Stiller sort of moving mountains. It was like a miraculous production that he got all these amazing actors together in one place, from Tom Cruise to Robert Downey Jr. and himself, all acting in a comedy that apparently they say you couldn't really make anymore for obvious reasons. I guess. I mean, you could make it. That's the thing. They say you couldn't do that anymore. It just takes one person to do it, and then it's done. You know what I'm saying? We need more balls on our directors, whether they be male or female. And our producers. But we did speak a lot about Coppola just now, so I'm going to also move into talk about Megalopolis, which I also mentioned because I brought up Shia Lebouf. I understand it might be Lebouf. You got to say Lebouf. If you're broadcasting something, Lebouf is better. I come from the Howard Stern School of Broadcasting. Not really, but actually, yeah, I do. And Lebouf is better. There's no getting around it, so it's going to be Lebouf. Comment Lebouf on Spotify if you're listening to this. But Megalopolis, I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet, and I still am so interested in it. I've seen a lot of clips. I've seen a lot of scenes and the making of. Not the making of, but I've seen videos where they're making the thing. And it's very interesting. Like, Coppola's take on visual effects has always been... obviously it started out as extremely analog, like they wanted to make the gunshots in The Godfather where Michael walks in and shoots the two guys in the restaurant. they made that look really great, right? And so that's like fully analog. It's makeup and prosthetics and little charges, like caps, perhaps, of not explosives, but like charges that make things go off and blood come out and whatnot. I'm not sure exactly how they did that stuff, but what I'm saying is his approach to visual effects has always been that towards realism. And like we spoke about, Dracula, if you want to go check that out as well, that's another recommendation. All those effects were done in camera, apparently, and Coppola was adamant that they needed to be done in camera because at the time, in the late '90s, the computer effects didn't look so hot. You know what I mean? It looked like a cheap version of what you really wanted to achieve. So they went analog, and all those effects are really awesome. It's effects like blood pouring out of a crucifix, or a woman floating down the stairs. It's very creative. It's nothing crazy, but it all looks very real. And because of that, it gives like a very it draws you in a way where it doesn't seem fake, and that's what Coppola was going for then. But on Megalopolis, some of the effects are meant to look fake. Either that or whoever was doing the visual effects was blind, because these things are crazy. These effects are absolutely outlandish. You have to check them out on YouTube. Megalopolis visual effects. A lot of people have made really good videos about them and reviewing them and analyzing them. Let me have a little sippy of water here. That's why they call me Joe Sippy. Yeah. I'm having a lot of fun today, by the way. This is not a scripted pod, other than I do have a lot of notes for the last portion when we talk about One Battle After Another by Paul Thomas Anderson and Johnny Greenwood's soundtrack for it being so absolutely legendary. I want to curse, but I'm not cursing yet. I haven't figured that out. Let's see. Right, so Megalopolis. Let me play you this clip of Shia talking about Megalopolis and his experience working with Coppola, and it'll give us a little hint into why this Coppola movie is also extremely divisive. Is that the word? It divides. Maybe that's right. I'm not sure. It's love it or hate it. Let's hear Shia on the Bad Friends podcast with Robbie Ree. Oops. With Bobby Lee and the other guy there with the red hair. Andrew? No. I forget.
Them all turn based on a...
Did you like the movie?
No, but I love him,
He's yeah,
and we fought all through the thing because it wasn't my dream, and I was trying to learn his dream, which you're always trying to do when you're on a movie. You're trying to learn your guy's dream.
Imagine fighting the whole time you're making a movie with Francis Coppola. Hello? It takes a lot of guts, and you got to have confidence. I mean, Coppola must have really wanted Shia on in this thing. If you look at the video that I was mentioning earlier, Coppola is clearly frustrated with him, and it's not clear what Shia is on about. But Coppola has put up with difficult actors before, or tricky actors. I mean, the guy has gotten the best Brando performances on films, so that says a lot. But I don't know. Lebouf? What do you guys think? Is it Leboufy? I don't know. Let's listen.
Sometimes those dreams aren't easily accessible. Sometimes you feel like you're not old enough to get to the dream. With me and him, it felt like that. It felt like, I don't know about, because I'm a baby and you done lived a life, So I would acquiesce to him. But I remember he could make the industry move, because he had that kind of power. And then I look at his accomplishments, and then I look at...
All right, so yeah, I mean, obviously Coppola is going to be... I mean, this isn't really... A media review outlet is not necessarily supposed to say things like this, but yeah, Coppola's going to be smarter than Lebouf. Of course, and then I think what I'm getting at is that Adam Driver, for example, he treats the film with much more respect. I think Shia was a little bit of a baby. Maybe felt like he didn't understand the movie and he wanted to Doesn't Shia do that actors workshop? I don't know what it is exactly. It seems like it's in LA. He's like an actor's actor, right? He's been doing it for a long time, so he's got a lot of confidence in that regard. But it's like Coppola understands acting. That's the basis of his depth of understanding. So if only Shia could have maybe approached it with a little bit more a willingness to learn. He talks about how he did acquiesce to Coppola's, I'm not sure, demands or his vision, but he says he didn't understand his dream. It might be a nice way of saying he didn't really like the script or understand it. It's definitely, from what I understand, it's not an easy movie to follow, and it's a little overstimulating, according to... Gosh, is her name Aubrey Plaza? I might be messing that up, but I'm not going to look it up. We're not going to fix it. This is going to be one of them unedited eps. I think it's Aubrey Plaza. I didn't see Lebouf at the Cannes Film Festival when they rolled out the red carpet for this thing, because it's a Coppola film, obviously. Lebouf's nowhere in sight, but Adam Driver is nice enough to talk about how it's obviously one of the best experiences he's ever had making a movie. And if it were one of us, right, guys, maybe we would have enjoyed the experience a little more than Shia, because Shia is out for himself, it seems like. Shia is going to say what he wants to say when he wants to say it. Not necessarily that he's disrespectful, but he would rather be... maybe he wants to go make a sequel to Holes. I don't know. Maybe he could understand it a little better. But let's go to our second recommendation, because the first recommendation was really the DVD commentary, the original podcast that I mentioned, and then we got into Coppola a little bit. Gosh, recommendation number 2 is so awesome, in my view. It's The Last Emperor, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci. Now, the funny thing about this is I was very into this movie a week ago, and I was very into Apocalypse Now and learning about that through Francis's commentary from the Commentary podcast. And then Francis was talking about the name of the cinematographer for for the Apocalypse Now. It's the same cinematographer from The Last Emperor. So obviously that guy at that point had done Apocalypse. He had done a lot before that, and he was doing some of the best movies ever made. Good for him. Let me get his name for you. Let's do that. But gosh, The Last Emperor. It's about the last emperor that China ever had before they went on to become a republic, I suppose. And it takes you through the life of this emperor, Puyi. Is that his name? Puyi? My computer is really acting a fool. This has a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb. It's very long. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but it's John Lone in the starring role playing the Last Emperor. And it is Puyi. P-U space Y-I. That was the name of the Last Emperor. He becomes the boy emperor, a 3-year-old made into an emperor after... the emperor before him basically dies, and she calls upon this 3-year-old to become the emperor. And it's got Peter O'Toole playing playing the emperor's tutor as a child, and that role serves to... This is all based on an autobiography, so it's... I guess when you have an autobiography, you can be fairly accurate with your film. Basically, Peter O'Toole is playing this Reginald Johnston, or this RJ character. He's exposing the Emperor to the Western ways, and obviously, eventually, the Emperor feels trapped because he's not really allowed to leave the Forbidden City. They actually filmed inside the Forbidden City, and that's kind of why I'm recommending it. It's one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. A couple weeks before that, I had watched Kubrick's Barry Lyndon. They said it was the most beautiful movie ever made. But The Last Emperor might take the cake. The colors, the costumes, and the cinematography, wow. You know, it doesn't make sense to really verbalize these things too much to try to verbalize a description of why something is so beautiful. You got to see it, and then it makes you feel something, for crying out loud. How's that hit you? You have to see it, and then you feel something. I picked this movie. I couldn't figure out what to watch. You ever have one of those nights? Nobody can figure out what to watch. And then somebody suggests like watching Alex Honnold's Free Solo, and you're just like, there has to be something we can do here. So I picked this completely based on the cover. I like the graininess of the cover photograph. I wasn't in the mood for something new. This is 1987, I believe, and it won Best Picture. It won so many awards. The soundtrack is amazing. The cinematographer's name is Vittorio Storaro, by the way. Vittorio Storaro. Also did Apocalypse Now. It was crazy because it was ironic. It was I was enthralled with one movie, and then the same cinematographer had done Apocalypse Now, which I loved. I loved that occurred in my life. So they were shot by the same guy. This is Bernardo Bertolucci's, as a director, I think his biggest project. And there's a lot going on in this movie. The kid, he breastfeeds until like the age of 12 or 13. His mother leaves him at the age of 3 because that's part of the deal, I suppose. It was really a nice movie. I mentioned RJ, the Peter O'Toole character. He's not really developed enough. Like, he kind of comes and goes too quickly, perhaps. That could be a criticism. There's a lot going on in a 3-hour movie, and it jumps around. At first, it nicely jumps back and forth between, like, he's middle-aged, and then he's 3, and then he's middle-aged, and he's 7, and so on. But, you know, there's a part where he does leave the Forbidden City towards the end, and, like, he's kind of... They want to make him a part of the Republic as much as they can. He manages to hold on to a lifestyle that he's comfortable with until he eventually is taken as a prisoner, where he ultimately finds freedom as a prisoner. So that's cute. That's nice. There's a lot to think about there. I'd like to read the autobiography. It's a must read. So I've heard. I got to make sure my throat don't dry out, so I'm gonna have some more water. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our first new music review. That's right, you heard it here first. Listen and be educated on new recordings.
A ditch on my block, she said. I just want my mind to be a clear glass with nothing in my head.
I liked the sound of that when I first heard it. It starts with what feels like a chorus, which I love. Some of my favorite songs start with a chorus. That's Mitski with Where's My Phone? It's got a nice chord change into the verse. It's like, first of all, the echo on the vocals is rich, and it's very affected with an echo that does take up quite a bit of the central portion of the mix. So the guitars on the side have that nice jangly thin tone to them. It reminds me of the Smiths and the Beatles. It also reminds me of Pixies. Is it the Pixies or Pixies? For the bridge, the vocal reverb really takes over, and the band shrinks down to feel like a tiny little band, which I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that does happen a lot when you're mixing, right? Too much vocal reverb and too much thickness on the vocal, and if the vocal is too loud, the band can sound like a little tiny band, kind of like Ringo's drum set on those early Beatle records and on some of the White Album. And also some of Let It Be, where it sounds like he's hitting, rather than hitting a snare drum, he's hitting the top of a Folgers coffee can with the piece of tracing paper stretched over the opening. I kind of like that, though. It doesn't offend at all. Like I said, the guitars did have to sacrifice some thickness for those vocals, but I really like what she's saying there. What she's saying there. You know, where's my phone? How many times have we all uttered it? Check it out. It's Mitski with Where's My Phone. Let's get a little bit more of that.
A woman always on the street called me a ditch on my block, she said. I just want my mind to be a clear glass with nothing in my head.
You could hear that they turned up the feedback on that delay there at the end, which is very nice. You know, you want to take risks like that with your plugins. Or maybe it's a pedal, maybe it's a hardware unit. I doubt it. Yeah, from the verse to the chorus at first, they go from like a minor 6, they go to the minor 6, right? But it's like it's a major chord. And that they get there via the dominant 7. You got to check it out. All my musical listeners would appreciate it. Next, I mean, geez Louise, this hit me out of left field, I'll tell you the truth. Talk about sick vocals. At one point in this song, it's A$AP Rocky with Air Force, and then in parentheses, Black DeMarco. So we have A$AP Rocky, Air Force, parenthetical, Black DeMarco. And I'll tell you the truth, when it slows down, it does remind me of Mac DeMarco. I'm not sure if that's what he was going for, but geez Louise, like I said, it was awesome. Check out these, I don't know if you would call them gospel type vocals, but absolutely epic.
It's very good to see you. It's always nice to see you. Once again,
I love it. Dude, really? It's not every day that I'm going to sit down and get the chills from an A$AP Rocky bridge or B section. It's a 2-section song. You got A and B. The B section is thrillingly beautiful. I mean, wow. Let's listen to it one more time. I mean, I'm just going to play you that same part. I'm not sitting here trying to steal anybody's work. Stay off my back, Spotify, with your AI detection technology. Chill, brother. This is commentary. Yeah, so I'll take it back. It doesn't really remind me of Mac DeMarco. Maybe it's not supposed to. Maybe it's supposed to remind me of Black DeMarco, because that's what the song is called. It's A$AP Rocky with Air Force, parenthetical, Black DeMarco. Absolutely check that out. Put it on your playlist and listen to it throughout 2026 when you're driving around town, windows down, showing off that sound system. Next, we have something really interesting as well. And again, these were randomly chosen because it wouldn't be much of a music review if I was sitting there choosing things that I know that I'll love. I'm not going to sit here and play you guys a bunch of old Chili Peppers, Beatles, and Foo Fighters tunes. I actually want to learn something by doing this. I could do a podcast about Deerhoof, but geez, I don't know. I did a podcast about Zappa, so that's the first episode. Go listen to the first episode. It's quite a bit different than this, done under unusual circumstances, you might say. And you might be able to tell when you listen to it, but I'm not going to take it down. I like that episode. It serves as a foundation for what the show is all about, which is give the people new media every week in spite of anything and everything that might try to get in your way. Don't let them stop you. Talk about not letting them stop you. This song's called Yo Yon, Y-O space Y-O-N, again, chosen randomly. Skrillex, and I guess accompanied by Sacred Family. And I'm going to play you this clip. It's all about the juxtaposition on this song between the heavy and the acoustic. Musically, they're basically the same section, but it goes to show you what you can do by mixing and arranging things differently. It's like it's got the same melody, but it's very different. Check it out. Also, wait, now I remember why I wanted to bring this, why I thought this song would be good to choose. I listened to them randomly, and then I chose what I liked, so maybe you could scratch everything I just said, but hey, we gotta fill time. There's this inorganic sound, at the beginning of the recording, at the beginning of the tune, and it literally, you have to listen with headphones. Don't listen to this podcast without headphones, sorry, anybody who's out there shoving an iPhone up against their ear right now, I doubt it, but there's an episode of The Sopranos where Tony tells Melfi, the psychiatrist, that his panic attacks feel like ginger ale in his skull. And golly, geez, this synth at the beginning of this track, or whatever it is, it feels like it's scratching the top of the middle of my brain. It feels like ginger ale in my skull. Listen to this with headphones. You kind of get what I'm saying there? You got to go back and check that out. It's like the way it's filtered, and it's in stereo, and the way that it's phasing, the way that it's filtered, the way it's EQ'd, it literally it enters like between my eyes and the top of my head. That's noteworthy, ladies and gentlemen, and that's that type of stuff that we bring you on the NMRW, the New Media Review Weekly. Let's listen to the bridge section, which is quite a bit different than that first section. It just goes to show you, if you're writing a song and you can't come up with the B section, just play the A section differently, dude. Don't overthink it. Just rewrite the A section. Throw a nylon string acoustic on there. Keep the melody and change the arrangement. And you've got yourself a fully viable song. Now, the thing about these songs is that they're so short. I don't know why people are afraid to go over 4 minutes. Go 5 minutes. Go 6 minutes. Is it an attention span thing? I don't know. But, dude, don't be afraid to hit us with section after section of repeating A and B. A, B, A, B, 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 A, you know? Don't be afraid. I got the attention span. I'm here for you, Skrillex. Everything's going to be all right. Let's move on to another new music for our first new music review of 2026 on the NMRW. That's the New Media Review Weekly with me, your host, Giuseppe, from the New Media Review YouTube channel. Check that out. Golly geez, do I ever need to upload more content to it. Here's a funny one. Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors with Mississippi River Bluebird. Before I talk about it, let's hear it. I like the simplicity of it. It's a 3-chord verse and a 3-chord bridge. I think it's 1-4-5 for the verses, and then it's like a 6-flat-7-1 for the bridge. It's all been done before, but that doesn't matter. Not on this podcast anyway, because we'd be reviewing movies, books, TV, songs, artwork. It's not about what hasn't been done before. It's how it makes you feel. It's how it hits. It's how it slaps. This slapped me upside the back of the head a little bit because kind of like an actor that you haven't seen before or heard before makes you feel something or you believe it. I believe this guy's Drew Holcomb. He's got a nice voice, and it hit me in a different way, like I say there. It makes me feel like someone else. I've never been to the South. How do you feel about that? I've never been to Mississippi, let alone the South. I guess because of the word blue, it reminds me of my little girl. She's got blue eyes. And I was feeling, I was in a pretty mood that day, because this song's pretty. That's pretty, that bridge. You hear the reverb all over the voices in the bridge. I'm only giving you the bridge. I want you to check it out yourselves. I'm not going to sit here and play full songs on my podcast. I'm not interested in it, but go check it out. It's Mississippi River Bluebird. There's not too much to say about it. This is not a Kubrick movie, right? I say Kubrick and Kubrick, by the way. We have to get over that. I do. But I'm not here to analyze when it comes to the new music review. I might get a little bit into it musically and philosophically and thematically, but at the end of the day, you just have to listen. It's important to listen to new music. I kind of got that from Red Bar. You may or may not have heard of him. Red Bar is a show, a radio / podcast, a broadcast. It's an internet broadcast that's brought to us by a man and his wife, actually. It's very wholesome, and he's big on listening to new music every Friday. You probably don't remember this, but new music is released on Fridays. I think albums always came out on Tuesdays and Fridays. I'm not sure exactly why, but that's still a kind of a thing, and you can listen to playlists on Spotify like New Music Friday, which you should be doing every week. It's important. We can't be listening to Creedence every time we get into our car. You know what I'm saying? All right, let me stop. So that was Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors. It's just something I want you guys to check out because it's new and that's important, like I've been saying. This was really nice. Water Baby with Memory Be a Blade. It's extremely reminiscent of a band called The Doe, which I think two of you that will hear this will be familiar with. No, it might even be more than that, I hope, but it's basically like the vocal effects plus the cellos. There's a warmth to the vocals and a tone to the person's voice, I have to say, that is very, very much like Olivia from The Doe. Go check out The Doe. It's The D-O. You won't be disappointed. I could do a whole episode on The Doe. I found The Doe on a sick day when I was home from work sick 15 years ago, which is crazy town. It was their second album, and the song was called Was It a Dream? And then from there, I got into everything they had ever done, which they only had one album before that, but now they have 3 albums. They have their first album from 2008 or 9, which I forget the name of, and then they have the second album, Both Ways Open Jaws, and then they have the third album. Let's see, the name of that album is Shake, Shook, Shaken. Go check out The Doe. That's what this track reminds me of. Here it is. See how there's kind of like a closeness to it? It's the sound of the room.
Looking back on a lonely night.
Like listen to the snare drum when it comes back in.
Memory be the sharpest knife. Memory be a blade. You was going, I was going too. Was no problem.
It's really nice. To say that it's not worth a listen would be absolutely outrageous. Check it out. It was Water Baby with Memory Be a Blade. That album is going to be coming out in like 2 months, I think. It strikes me as... the snare drum actually strikes me as too loud. That's a thing that I noticed recently with new mixes. The snare is profoundly 3 dB too loud. Let the snare sit back in the mix a little bit. I understand it took you 6 hours to come up with the snare sound, but nobody cares about the snare sound. I'm talking about it because I'm literally a music over-analyzer. And by the way, I would still be talking about it if it were 3 dB lower. I really think it needs to go down. I'm not talking specifically about Water Baby. It's like the kick and the snare should be hitting at different frequencies, but at the same level. Come on now. If you're from my camp, then you know that's the truth. And what I say is absolute gospel. But no, the piano and the cello, they just work together. The piano and the cello, when you hear those on a track, it's always nice. I like to hear new artists, not just using, bass guitar, regular guitar, drums. When I say new artists, I'm talking about like artists that will go out and perform with musicians eventually. And they have done some shows, but the album isn't out yet. I think it's their first album. I'm not sure. Again, not a lot of research went into this one, folks. We're just giving you new music to enjoy. And I want to have fun. We're fun. Somebody was once describing their band to me, and they said, we're fun. And that's the end of that story. So I really like it. I like how they let her, there's a part where she clears her throat before she begins. Leave that in. I think it even happens more than once. That's cute. That's, when I say it's cute, I'm actually like, that word is comprised of a lot of different feelings for me, and then it comes out as like this, oh, that's cute. And it sounds like I'm joking about it, but I'm being sincere. There is a cuteness and a closeness to that girl's vocal, to that woman's vocal. And it's intimate. And the sound of the snare, actually, which is too loud in my opinion, however, whatever that is on there, I don't know if it's actually the sound of the, I don't know if it's the mics in the room, making it sound like it's recorded in a little room, but it does sound like it's recorded in a little room. Maybe it's like a small room reverb, but that gives you an intimacy that you wouldn't get with like just a dead snare tone that could be recorded anywhere on the beach or Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean? Sometimes you want to be able to hear that little room that doesn't sound like Abbey Road. This is an interesting one. Let's move on to sports with Drama King. Check it out.
I just want the future, not now, though. Send me on vacation tomorrow. Try not to let the neighborhood burn down. Don't let them see it. Don't let them see it. Now I have everything. Now I have everything.
I really like the vocals there. It's like the spoken volume or the whispered vocals, one low in register, or one or more low, and then a few high in register, like singing in unison, but maybe in different octaves. I do that a lot when I'm recording. It's fun, especially if you don't want to be screaming your head off or singing loudly if you're recording at home, but you still want the vocals to have a cool character. It's like one is spoken, and they're both spoken, but one is low, just like I'm talking right now. And then the other one is harmonizing or singing it an octave above. As soon as I heard that, it gives it like a thickness. You'll see what I mean if you go back and listen to it again. It gives it a thickness and a closeness that's really nice. And it's textural. You could hear when you could hear someone's voice close up like that. It's like a the microphone becomes a microscope. You know what I mean? You can hear the tone of their throat just like you can hear mine now. But you might notice right after the beginning part of that clip that I played you that there's an element in the mix that or whatever it is, it moves over to the right. I love that. I like it when an engineer or when a mixer is not afraid to just turn the pan knob, you know what I mean? Make things dance around catch the listener's attention, be unique. Don't just do the same thing over and over again, or maybe do the same thing over and over again, as long as you're doing this something interesting. I love when elements move around in a mix. Gotta wear headphones to appreciate this, like I said, but the drum tone could be more interesting. It's kind of sounds like a stock little Ableton or Logic MIDI drum tone. It might be a beautiful Ludwig drum set recorded at Abbey Road for all I know, but guess what? It doesn't sound as interesting as I think it could. And then at the end, you have like an out-of-tune piano, which was super nostalgic for me personally, so that helped me choosing this too. I used to have an out-of-tune piano in my garage, which I don't have anymore, and I wish I did. So check out Sports, Drama King. That's like a real big band. That's like a real big boy band that travels the world and has lots and lots of followers online. So that was a little bit different, a little pop. All of this was relatively poppy, but gosh, I enjoyed it. But now there's something that's not that poppy. This is the highlight of our first new music review of 2026. Folks, Flea. Michael Balzari, or Balzari, the bassist of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know him, you love him. He went solo. I don't know if he's done it before, but guess what? He did now. And this track called Traffic Lights, it features Tom York from Radiohead, which is cool because we're going to talk a little bit about Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead and his work with Paul Thomas Anderson on the One Battle After Another right after this. Listen to this, dude. So then Tom York comes in with those vocals right at the end of that clip there. It sounds like he's saying the Upside Down, which reminds me of Stranger Things, which I did not enjoy the final season of, but interesting. I don't know if he's referring to Stranger Things, but he's literally talking about something called the Upside Down. That's what it sounds like. So that's kind of an interesting little tidbit, but what do you think of that? It's very interesting. I don't know who's playing the guitar. I imagine it's Flea on bass and trumpet, because I know he plays those, but it's kind of like it's like if Weather Report made a track with David Bowie, or David Byrne for that matter. Very, very cool and interesting. Definitely something you're not going to miss out on if you've been listening to music for the past 30 years or so. Anybody who's heard anything in the past 30 years should be listening to Flea's new solo work. That's just how it goes on the New Media Review Weekly. You got to check things out. Let's talk about the length of it. 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Let me sit down and actually listen to something. I mean, are we really skipping through songs? You can't do that. It's not allowed anymore. If you skip through playlists that you've actually made yourself, or even worse, through an album that you've purchased or downloaded, or that you're paying to stream monthly, say what you will about that, but I like it. You're not skipping around anymore. You hear what I'm saying here? You got to listen. And it shouldn't be that hard, because most of these tracks are about 1.5 minutes long. This one's going to hit you at almost 6 minutes, and it evolves. There's solos, there's quiet parts, louder parts. It's called music, people. We need more new, young musicians and producers making long-form music, songs, pieces, what have you. Maybe Flea will inspire that in the youth. I hope he does. Maybe it's only long because Tom York and Flea are old. Maybe I'm old. These things are all up in the air, folks. But go listen to Flea's new track. Traffic Lights with Tom York, because it's well worth it. And you actually get to have a little experience there, coming in at almost 6 minutes. I want you to go listen to it. Right now you're listening to a track called One Battle After Another from the soundtrack of the film One Battle After Another. Now, the film opens on this track, and it's pensive. There's a suspended feel, right? There's suspense. The movie opens with a tracking shot of Perdidia walking towards us, looking down at this raid that she's about to get into with her revolutionary crew, the French 75. Now, the track you're hearing now is not the track in the movie. It's like, this is a shorter track based on the final one that appears in the movie, basically. But that little piano intro is not something that you would normally get in the beginning of a movie. Because it's got this suspenseful feel to it, it almost seems like we're dropping in the middle of something rather than at the beginning of something. And now that I think about it, it kind of captures how Bob, Leo DiCaprio's character, might be feeling as well, because he's joining them in the middle of something. He's new to the crew. You could tell that by some of the dialogue when she's saying, you know, what do you have in your car? He's saying, I got mortars, smoke bombs, anything you guys need. And you get the feeling that he is a new member. And he is a new member because he's not fully in his relationship with Perdidia yet. That's the night that they really fall in love. And again, this is by Johnny Greenwood. He does, I think, all of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies at this point. Good for him. But basically what I'm saying here is the first 20 minutes of One Battle After Another is a film scoring and editing masterpiece. It's really just editing, right? You're putting together different sounds and images together. And, yeah, I'm just listening to that. It's very, very nice. The strings kind of hang on strange intervals as we get into at the beginning during the raid of the OTAY, the Otay Immigration Detention Center. It's one of the best first 20 minutes of a movie that I've ever seen. I enjoyed it so much, and I keep watching it over and over again. And just like The Last Emperor, which we mentioned earlier, that's available on HBO Max right now. Okay, so now you're hearing this string crescendo, for lack of a better term. It reminds me of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's definitely indicative that something epic is about to happen. And then you get the dissonant piano notes, which I love. And he does this a lot. And actually, not so different from the sort of singular piano notes of that whole score towards the end of Eyes Wide Shut, which we spoke about last week. This is more musical than that score. I believe this pops up when it's the title credit appears. It says One Battle After Another, and this is basically what you're hearing, although it's a different form, like a different cue. You know, they cut and mix these things. I don't think it's Greenwood doing it. I think it's probably the folks at Skywalker Ranch. We spoke about them on the episode before last, but because they do Anderson's work. They work with Anderson, and they did on what have you. There Will Be Blood. So I'm just showcasing this to you right now. I'm going to play it again, and we'll just talk about it. It's like... maybe you haven't seen the movie, but you like what you're hearing right now. What better reason to get into a new movie than an awesome soundtrack? That's what I say. I don't know. It doesn't get any cooler than this. I love how... I'm trying to figure out the instrumentation, and it's like... obviously you have the piano. And then the cool percussion that always reminds me of Edgar Varese. What I really want to do is make a little video about the first 20 minutes of the movie, and I want to showcase the pieces, because the first track I'm showing you, that I just showed you, One Battle After Another, is 3 minutes long on the soundtrack, but it's like 11 minutes long in the movie. Something like that, so it's very different than what I can give you here. And with the, I don't just want to show you, I don't want to give you clips of the dialogue without the video. So we're going to do that. Check it out on the New Media Review YouTube channel. And then here it is again. You kind of hear this. This track is called Backtan Cross, which is where Bob and his daughter Willa live. Those strings building, it's almost like an orchestra tuning. I heard Louis C.K. describe the intro to 2001 that way. And it always reminds me of that when Greenwood does that. It's a great way to build tension when you have strings playing different notes, and it's like... it's not like short notes, it's these long drawn-out drones. But then you have like that weird little percussion that you just heard. And then look what it turns into. It's not that often that a movie, the soundtrack is just as important to me as the film, but this is a clear-cut case where it is. I like the soundtrack way better than I like the soundtrack in There Will Be Blood, and that's saying a lot. He starts bringing in the awesome instrumentation. I just burped. I hope you heard it. I think I'm going to end on this. This is our longest one yet, folks. I think this is about an hour. Check out this movie, One Battle After Another. You don't need me to tell you to check it out, but you might need me to tell you to check out the soundtrack to it. We focus a lot on movie soundtracks because it's some of the best music being made these days. I mean, listen. And the way this music was made for the movie, and the way that the movie was edited to the music, they both hold each other up for the audience to love. Everything is very specific, and make no mistake about it that this stuff is super well thought out. And maybe one more recommendation, or I like to call them recs, much like myself. No, but one more rec that I want to give you is a podcast that Johnny Greenwood just had a nice interview on back in, I think it was November or the beginning of December. Let me think of the host. I was surprised at how huge this podcast is, with millions of followers on Spotify. It's Edith Bowman, is that it? Let's see. Not Bowman. Yeah, Edith Bowman, soundtracking with Edith Bowman. I was ignorant to who Edith was, but she's huge in the industry. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and telling you she's doing exactly what I'd like to be doing on my podcast, but you could draw your own inferences here. But she did meet up, or she, did a video Skype or Zoom interview with Johnny Greenwood back on November 14th on her podcast called Soundtracking with Edith Bowman. So I'll leave you with that. Go check out Edith's podcast. She's amazing. I guess she comes from a background with the BBC. That's who sponsors her podcast. Good for her. Good for her. No, but really, go check out One Battle After Another. Check out everything I've told you about here today. That's the whole point of the show. I mean, I don't want to be too full of myself, but I don't want to sit here and waste my time. Nobody's going to, go check out the things I'm talking about here. You know what I'm talking about? Pisha Gabagol. We mentioned Tony. He's got ginger ale in my skull. Thank you so much for listening to the New Media Review Weekly. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to be updating it constantly when I have the time. I'm a family man, folks. And getting the time to do this is a privilege. So I want to say thank you to my beautiful little family. If they're hearing this, if my wife hears this, I love her so much. And anyone who's took the time to listen to this full episode, I want to tell you something. I hope I'm onto something. If I could do this and support my family with it, I can sincerely tell you that I'd be living out a dream. I used to simply just record music, and it's not really enough for me anymore. I'm so in love with film and soundtracking, sound design, and writing that I need to do more to keep myself satisfied creatively. Okay? Some people, it's a little bit pretentious to talk about this stuff. I don't care, and I hope you don't either. If you've gotten to this point in the episode, follow the podcast. Let's stick together. We're going to do this. And I think one of the major goals is also to have interviews on the podcast, because I love picking people's brains and geeking out about stuff like this. So thank you so much. It's the New Media Review Weekly. I'm your host, Joe Seppi. And let me give you a big smooch.